Hello, everyone. Happy National Soap Opera Day.
Happy National Soap Opera Day.
Woohoo!
Very cool.
So this is a very special bonus episode of Queers and Soaps, and we have pretty much, I want to say, the creator of National Soap Opera Day, Cam Smack, with us.
Oh, so glad we could get her out of her busy schedule of writing a soap, producing.
Wait, again, me? I'm not gonna take it that far. Like I said, I will explain it when we get to that point.
And we also have our very good friend Lynn joining us today for the first time.
Hey guys,
coming on.
Thank you for having me.
So let's roll the credits and we'll get started.
I can't help but dance every time I hear it.
No, I know it's catchy. Like dun, 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 dun.
Thank you, YouTube free music.
Oh my god.
So, how did you come up with or what is your part in making National Soap Opera Day a thing?
So, I mean, I'm just a fan who just knows the history, but I do have to credit We Love Soaps. Because
We Love Soaps.
I know if anybody just give a shout out to We Love Soaps, because seriously, they are a part of that. That's how I learned some things about soaps, and they also was a very big part in my quote unquote being a soap fan. So I want to give a shout out to them because they've done amazing work and continue to do it.
I still check out their website, but there was a time when every day I was on We Love Soaps, seeing what was going on. I was reading I love the little history things they did.
And that's actually how I knew about it, because they did, let me see, it was like 4 years ago, I think. Yeah, 4 or 3 years ago. They said it was the 88 years ago on this day that soaps, Painted Dreams, which Erna Phillips created, debuted. So I was like, okay. I retweeted and I said, Happy National Soap Opera Day. Hashtagged it. And so it's like, it kind of like been a thing, like October 20th. I always kept saying, I was like, well, today's National Soap Opera Day, da-da-da-da-da. And apparently, it's caught on because other people was like, wait, is this a thing? Like, is this a holiday? And like I said, I think it should be. Everything else is a holiday, so it should, and what better way to, pay? I mean, obviously we're also fans, and we love our shows, but this is the day to really be like, woo, we're so fans, everybody, like, deal with it. So, and pay respect to those, who started it. I mean,
I messaged Lynn this morning asking him if he wanted to come on and chat with us. And I was like, apparently it's National Soap Opera Day. Who knew?
I didn't.
I don't know if it's a real thing.
Next year it's going to be bigger, better, and soapier.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is a step in the right direction.
Exactly. I mean, it's 91. Think about this. 91 years ago today.
We should make shirts. I'm all about making a shirt.
Oh, honey, I'm all about the shirts. I'm about the cups. I'm about the hats. Look, I even said this. I joked with some people. I said, I should take off today.
I was off today. I mean, it was for my dogs, but I was like celebrating. I was working on my own soap opera that is coming in 2022. Tomorrow's a new day. And if you haven't listened to Forever in a Day, you should check out that. We've come full circle in the soap realm.
Yeah, we have. I mean, it started on radio, transition. Yeah, it came back. It's like, again, it's 91 years. Today marks 91 years of the soap genre. And if you think about the history, like all these things, like in history that has happened in 91 years, you had wars, you had various presidents, you had, certain events that, obviously, the one that just popped in my head was 9/11. You think about all that. All these soaps have been around for a lot of this.
There was World War I, World War II.
It was the Great Depression. I mean, you had Wall Street gone belly up. You had, segregation. You had a lot of, like I said, a lot of historical things happen. Look, if you have grandparents who was watching As the World Turns on a certain day, there you go. You just ask them. So what happened? And it was like, well, we was watching it, and then all of a sudden, CBS News broadcast and Walter Cronkite, and it's certain moments that you can connect to, and soaps were around for it, and again, think about the media. Went from radio to television to some of them went full episodes on iTunes. Remember iTunes? Remember iPods? I bet y'all do. I know. then it was like slowly it was some online channels, and then it went to online, like it went to digital. Like
I started watching As the World Turns in like 2006 ish, and I used to watch it on like the CBS website because they were streaming the episodes.
Yep.
That made Guiding Light, I think.
Yeah, and for some people of a certain age, I guess that makes me old. I guess I don't care. I remember when AOL, when it was legit, like not saying AOL is not legit. I still support it, but they had channels, and they had P&G Classic Soaps, which was Procter and Gamble Classic Soap Channel, and they would have like all the Procter and Gamble soaps on there, and then you go from that to Soap
Another
City.
World was on there.
Another World was on there. Texas was on there. Let me see. Wait a minute. Another World makes. Erna, I know you. I'm looking at your picture right now. You're saying, "Don't f this up, Candace." You had Another World, Search for Tomorrow, Somerset. You had Edge of Night, Guiding Light, As the World Turns, Texas: The Next Generation. You had all of these. All the Procter and Gamble soaps.
Wait,
was
Texas
on there.
Had a spinoff?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Huh? I didn't know that.
When Beverly McKenzie left, when Beverly said deuces, because she was like, you know what, this isn't my cup of tea. There was Texas: The Next Generation. It lasted for a few years. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, there's somebody posting all the episodes of Texas on YouTube. So I tried watching it like a month ago. It was really slow moving. I was like, I don't know if I can get into this.
You have to watch. I would say that you would have to kind of watch Beverly McKenzie on Another World to follow and understand Texas, because that was literally based around her. She was Texas, and I will say it again. She was Texas. Okay. She was the Beverly McKenzie, like hands down, the Beverly McKenzie. But no, I remember that. I remember Soap City.
Soap City. I used to always be on Soap City.
Yeah, Soap City. Look,
Soap Central. I was on a lot.
Yeah,
I'm a Days fan, so I was constantly on Jason 47, like looking.
Oh yeah,
stuff.
Jason 47. Shout out to him. Like, good grief, man.
Dustin's Days page I used to go to all the time.
Oh, I forgot all about Dustin's Days page.
Yep.
Yes.
I mean, you had some. I mean, this is really. It's interesting because now that I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about it, I'm like, we were all part of the evolution of the soapdom, right? We've been through shows that. Some of us, okay, not all of us can remember when some shows swapped networks and the promos that went along with it. Some of us can remember when certain shows ended and certain cast members came onto another soap.
I remember when a certain soap went from network television to satellite television.
I remember a certain soap that went through this. NBC, yes, I'm calling it out, Sci-Fi, and the Direct 101. Hi, Passions. What up? What's going on?
I remember when I saw reruns of Passions on Sci-Fi. I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
I was recording it because I was like, I'm watching what I missed because of, school got in the way.
I mean, Passions, look, I always say, people always, clown Passions, but if you really think about it, Passions did a lot of firsts. They were the first to have 4 episodes on iTunes. They were the first ones to kind of go over to the Sci-Fi. They were the first ones to have like the Direct 101 and the first show to have an after show. Because
they're like the first to have with some of the website stuff too.
Because, they were the first like kind of like digital, like they had various content on there. You know, I even remember when
they were ahead of their time for a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
I don't
they
think
were.
people were ready for it yet.
Yeah, I mean, there are certain things like now that I'm really thinking about it. See, y'all are making me really think about this. I remember CBS when they had Intern, which was before I Want to Be a Soap Star. For those who remember,
I
Mhm.
want to be a soap star.
yeah,
Aw.
I'm not saying anything because I submitted something for that anyway. But things work out. Divine. But
They weren't ready for your greatness. They were not ready for.
they were no. I
your
don't think I
greatness.
was ready for that. I don't think But no, you think. I mean, you really think. But you sit here and you think. 91 years. Like, what the heck does that really mean? And again, we just went through it. We have come full circle. Now we're there's there were shows before Forever and a Day and whatnot. Scripts and Scruples. That Roger Newcomb did. But we really have come full circle into the fact that it's as I'm gonna borrow friends from James Lloyd Jr. It's old school in with new technology, and that's the thing is that we got a new soap channel as of yesterday.
Exactly.
I'm hoping older soaps come on there. I really need that to happen.
Because Pluto rotates at prime time, so I'm hoping older canceled soaps come on there.
There is really good buzz about that. I was reading about it online, and I'm trying to just find my notes, and they're making it sound very promissory. That the Procter & Gamble soaps are 99% guaranteed to go on there.
They need to be.
As far as
how do we record over Pluto? How do we record?
I mean, Pluto is going to get some business because if they can re-show As the World Turns and Guiding Light, and they have tapes back as far as the late 60s.
60s, yep.
That would be amazing. And then
I already signed up for Pluto, or made an account.
Good.
I mean, I already had it. And let me just say, when I say that I was surprised, I mean, anybody who follows me on social media, who's listened to me on various podcasts, knows that the one thing I've always said was, how many movie channels do we have? How many music networks do we have? How many infomercial programming channels do we have? How come we can't have a soap channel? And I work with kids and I love the kids. Don't get it twisted, y'all. But when SoapNet was canceled for Disney Junior, I got really upset about that because I was like, how many channels does Disney have for these kids? No offense.
I forgot
I was in denial about that because I felt like that was a rumor for a year and a half, 2 years. I was
in denial about it.
It's never going to happen.
It was. I mean, and the thing is that you now look.
You just had to bring that up, didn't you?
I'm sorry.
All about it.
Look, we're going to be bringing up some stuff tonight as we celebrate this genre. That's going to probably irritate a lot of us. But that was that was the last night.
I remember when it happened. It was the end of 2013. I went out for New Year's Eve and I was like, they're lying. It's going to be fine. New Year's Day, I turned it on. I was like, oh my God, it's really gone.
Yeah. Yep. It was hard. It was hard because, I mean, like I said, I remember AOL. I went to Soap City. Then you had SoapNet. And I was there from the jump before they changed it, to modernize it, right? And I'm like,
that's
oh my gosh.
I discovered Knots Landing. That's how.
Yeah, I mean, they had Knots Landing, they had Dallas, they had Dynasty. They had the Colbys, they had Falcon Crest for a hot minute.
The problem is every time soaps try to go younger to bring in a demographic, I feel like that's where they mess up. Or if they don't do it right, because when they started adding One Tree Hill, the OC, I was like,
that's when they kind of messed up because you can have 90210. I remember the original slogan, SoapNet, a new way to watch, same day episodes every night. I remember the
marathons on the weekend,
right? And I remember Sunday night was movie night with your favorite soap star because Susan Lucci was every Sunday. It was like Susan Lucci night.
Do you remember this Dysfunctional Family Night? It was Saturday nights, and they would show.
Yes.
2 episodes of the primetime soap.
And they had the best kind of marathon titles. Was like Your Mother, My Mother, or something like that, where it would be mother and daughters or mother and sons, bumping heads or anything. But when they started to incorporate, because like I said, 90210, that was a given because that was that should have been on SoapNet. But like you said, with One Tree Hill and the OC, and you took away Ryan's Hope, and then Port Charles was the one, and then you kind of just made it quote unquote into a MTV like network where it was for the younger generations versus the ones that really
like
enjoyed
a
it.
CW rerun network.
Yeah, it was sort of like
they had
you
Gilmore
took away,
Girls also.
Yeah, and you really took away an audience that really was invested from. I mean, you had original programming too, like Soap Talk with Lisa, and Lisa and Ty. I love that. They had one day.
They had great chemistry.
They were good. They had good chemistry. I mean, that was one of their first shows of SoapNet to get nominated for an Emmy. And then you had One Day, and I want to sing the song so bad. As soon as I said it, was One Day with Wally Kurth. You had soap, you had various shows that, again, that channel was for the soap fans. They was for the soap viewers, when they added.
It definitely, when it started to go downhill once All My Children and One Life to Live got canceled, because then they only had Days, GH, and Y&R because they weren't showing Bold.
Right,
So,
yeah, because that was the whole thing about that, yeah. Because, and the thing is, I remember, and it's funny because I feel as though this is like deja vu all over again because of yesterday with Pluto, is that I remember fans were like, it's only for ABC soaps. It's not for the CBS or NBC soaps. Blah, 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 blah. And then I remember when they said Young and the Restless was coming over, and they was like, watch it Saturday nights in the general, and then Days fans, and they was like, next week we got Days. So like, so they did have all the soaps. It's just, SoapNet, I mean, I kept saying, I said SoapNet 2.0, SoapNet 2.0. I was like,
they had another World reruns for a while too. They were
showing, which was a big deal considering Procter and Gamble was was locking everything up. And so
Which I just don't understand. Like, what is their hate? I feel like they hate soaps.
It was the Disney takeover, I think, with ABC. That Disney didn't want to be in the soap business. Disney wanted to promote their Disney channels. That's why Disney kind of owns everything. So we got to do whatever we can to support Pluto and get that name out.
Yes.
They're going to put that effort into that. That audience is going to be there, but they're just not going to have that Disney dollars to do that.
Right. And I agree with that because I feel as though anytime there's something new that's presented on the table regarding soaps, obviously, as soap fans, we are very, what's the word I'm looking for? We critique everything. We're passionate, but we critique everything. So to me, it's like, I always say there was experiments, and I'll use this, is that when All My Children, One Life to Live went from ABC to online, okay? Mm-hmm. That was an experiment.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, but there might be some life kicking somewhere. But that was
sure.
Yeah, there you go. It was, an experiment to see if a soap could survive online, right? We all remember this. But they were too early. Because I remember a lot of people did not have the online network. And that's where the Oprah factor came in. Because I remember before it even got to that point, people were begging Oprah to put it on her new network called OWN. I don't know if y'all ever heard of that network, but it's a big deal apparently. But because she was such a huge soap lover of All My Children, that they thought, okay, maybe you'll do it. And again, sadly, if y'all remember her speech, her saying that I cannot have this on my network. Like, pretty much she kind of shut the door. But it's funny because, again, when online network was kind of struggling a little bit, because, again, not everybody knew what to do, Oprah's network was struggling. So when she had, got the repeats of what was on the online network onto her network, the ratings bumped up. And because of that, I'm just going to say it. That's why we had Tyler Perry on her network.
I was going to say the haves and the haves not.
And I mean, she green doored it for Jamie Giddens to have Ambitions on there too.
Yeah, yep.
If anything, Aaron, pay attention to the avenues that he's done with some of that too, because I think you could definitely learn from his past as well too.
And now look at Jamie.
I found Ambitions. I was on Tubi, and it was like a month ago. I don't know if it's still on there, but Ambitions was on Tubi. I'm like, how'd this get on here?
Yeah, it was on Stars. I mean, it was on Stars. It was like one of the top shows on Stars, because when it got canceled, which I'm just going to say it now, I think it was unfair that show got canceled. It did very good on social media. Because I remember every Tuesday night, whether you were a soap fan, a soap actor, or a soap producer, everybody was tweeting about it. It did really good in the numbers. So I have the salty version of Candace wants to say something, but the innocent one right now that's clenching her hands is like, no, Candace, don't do it tonight. Just wait till you get somewhere else to say it. But no, I mean, again, that was an experiment. And then, obviously ABC, we all know the story. Prospect Park didn't have the finances. They had a plan, but they didn't have finances. ABC struggle survived. They was keeping it everything. They got the rights back. That was an experiment. CBS, Guideline as the world turns. They could, if they would have held out for another year. And you got to really think about 2010 was a big year for a lot of streaming services at that time. If they would have just held out until 2010, you might have gotten Guideline as the world turns. That would have been a big situation too, because Procter & Gamble doesn't want to lose money. Then you had the last experiment, which kind of, in my opinion, did well, Beyond Salem.
Yes.
Now the question is, can soap survive on streaming services?
Has anybody heard any numbers how the recent Days of Our Lives kickoff on Peacock Network has done? If it's had the eyeballs there, or what the numbers might have been?
I think, yeah. Go ahead, Aaron.
We did some videos on Beyond Salem, and every video we did about Beyond Salem, we got great numbers.
Yeah.
So if we got great numbers, and we're just a podcast,
I was like, I think people are just typing Beyond Salem, and our video's coming up, and they're just watching it. I'm like, these are not fans of us.
It's crazy. It's crazy because, again, I've always said Days of Our Lives, to me, okay, it had, first and foremost, Days of Our Lives is a part of the NBC institution. That is the the fourth longest show on their 90-plus year history, okay? I just want to clarify that. Because you have the Today Show, you have Meet the Press, the Tonight Show, and Days of Our Lives. Those are the four shows that have been there from such jump. Days of Our Lives, has done a lot of things. Marlene's Possession, like certain storylines that have just stood the test of time. And to me, I always kept saying, and this is my opinion, NBC never really treated it the right way. I'm still salty about 2010's up front when they said that Days of Our Lives would never go past 2010. I still remember that.
So mad.
And so I always said, Days of Our Lives needs to be treated just like the kings and queens that they are for that network. So I kept saying, man, they need to promote. They need to promote. What if they do this? What if they do this? And then I'm thinking, okay, they had the Days app. They did right with the Days app. You had 2 spinoffs, which was really good. Not everybody could see it because not everybody had the Days app. But then would it be possible for them to do like a primetime series or something? So when Beyond Salem came out, I think everybody, even if you wasn't watching Days, you wanted to support this. Because this could have opened a door for all the shows and some to even return. And I know that's a big thing, but you think about how many people, like you said, on Soap Party we were doing, every single day we were talking about the show. I was coming on, like I did a whole video saying, okay, you need to watch Beyond Salem. If you don't watch it, I'm going to tell you why you need to watch it. Like just to support.
I was listening to you when Ron Carlivati was listening to you.
Yeah, I didn't. Look.
I was like, does she know Ron's listening right now?
I didn't, because see, that's how passionate I get. Is that sometimes I'll be talking about it and I'll be like, and when they said, "Oh, Ron's listening," so I was like, "Hey, Ron, what's up?" And the soap fan is like, these people, like you know them, right? But you don't know them, right? So. And I had to ask the question. I said, so are we going to season 2 or what? And all we got was the thumb, what was it? The thumbs emoji or the 100 emoji? Like, I think personally, because it was well received on social media, it was one of the top shows on Peacock. It still actually is and whatnot.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'm hoping for season 2. I hope that, this opens, eyes over at Paramount Plus for Forster International. Ooh, what's that? Forster International, baby. I'm just saying. General Hospital Night Shift. Can they bring that back, please? Thank you. So I just, it's really interesting. Like I said, I love this genre. This is probably, and I know people are like, "Girl, please, it's not that serious," but it is.
Well, Bold is putting episodes on YouTube as well, which is really nice.
Oh, Bold,
yeah.
So, I mean, Lynn, I'm interested, since this is your first time on.
Sure.
What is your earliest memory of soaps? Do you remember which?
That's funny. I was going to ask that we kind of round rally about that too, and since it's National Soap Opera Day, what introduced you to the genre? So I'll go first. If you guys have stories, you can share it too. But it's I'm pretty old school, where I grew up in the generation where if you wanted to watch something, you had to be in front of the TV to watch it. There was no VCR to rely on. I had to buy my own VCR as a teenager because my dad said no. So I did that when I was a teenager. But before that, it was, my mom and dad have As the World Turns on, and we're eating a noon meal, and this is what you do. And my grandparents watched it. So that was the first introduction. When you head off during the summer, then you started to open up. I was a big Young and the Restless watcher as well, too, in the 80s, as well as the World Turns. And several people were watching Guiding Light. So you'd ride the school bus and everybody would be talking about their soap operas. It's kind of funny. And then all of a sudden, the nighttime stuff kicks off.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, I was around when Dallas and Knots Landing originally aired. It is true. I didn't see the premiere of Dallas, but I do remember getting into it, believe it or not, the season when JR got shot. I did see the spinoff happen and what Knots Landing happened, and from day one, watched it all. So, Knots Landing and Dallas and Dynasty led to Melrose Place. I tried to get into 90210 and I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And as a young gay man, seeing Jake on there and transfer over to Melrose Place, it was that's this show.
Mm-hmm.
So it just kind of keeps spilling forward from there. It was probably in the mid 90s where I was it was unfortunately after the Douglas Marlin years, and I can talk on and on about him, that I got a little bit disenchanted with As the World Turns.
Yeah.
And General Hospital really started upping their game, and all of a sudden they had the Stone Robbins storyline coming on with Stone having AIDS, and it really got me curious, and it kind of got me hooked. I've kind of been with General Hospital, maybe a few dry spells of a 9-month period, 3 or 4 times, but it's kept me hooked. And I had friends that watched Days, and I would pop in and out of the plot. I will admit, I went over to Days when Tyler Christopher got hired at Days, and it got me watching it full time. I will admit, it's back on the DVR now that the Marlena storyline. So, I'll give Days the shout out, and I'll definitely give Ron the shout out, because Ron, I missed you at General Hospital if you're listening. But I will give Days the shout out that they do a really good job that As the World Turns did, and they make it generational. And they respect their long-term cast members that have been on that show since the 70s, and they make them viable. That's where I think that's the key with the soaps. I've heard Aaron talk about how he's helped his grandmother watch Days of Our Lives now using the app. And let's face it, a lot of people of that age don't know how to use that new technology. It's up to that younger generation to show that to that older generation that introduced them to the genre to make sure they're staying up and they can see Beyond Salem, because Beyond Salem did a great job with having old and new, and it was very smart to have Lisa Rinna on there and have in there and all the characters that they did, because it was a perfect mix. It was like the perfect storm.
It really was.
Yeah.
It's funny that you say that with the older generation, because I started watching with my grandmother, who wouldn't let me watch, but I would slowly sit for 5 minutes. And the next day I would sit for 10. And then before I knew it, we were during the summer sitting every day eating lunch, watching it together. And then I was recording it, and we would watch it at night together because I had school. But now she won't watch it on her own, so I got her an Amazon Fire Stick, but she still won't watch it unless I'm there. So I have to like put Beyond Salem on for her, and like she'll watch it when I tell her there's like a big event like John Marlene's wedding when Kristen came back and shot the bride and like stuff like that.
Technology has helped and hurt the soap genre. I think it's helped in the fact that now finally, Candace, you were talking about 2010 was a big changeover year, and I'm like, fortunately, when all the soaps were getting canceled, especially on ABC by He Who Shall Not Be Named, it was really too bad that didn't happen until 5 years later, when the platforms and the apps and the channels that you could download or now have smart TVs, and you practically go buy a television set and plug it in, and about 500 screen apps pop up on your smart TV. They're making it more accessible. Unfortunately, we had to wait for technology to catch up that soap genre to stay viable and be accessible, really.
I was thinking about that. It's like, I grew up with my mom and my great-grandmother. So my great-grandmother listened to Guiding Light on the radio. My mom was born when the show came on television. Mm-hmm. So growing up in that house, so my great-grandma was strict CBS. Couldn't tell her anything, but she knew other people. She knew Luke and Laura and everything. Mm-hmm. My mom was, now get ready for this. She watched ABC, like she watched 2 shows from ABC, 1 NBC show, and 2 CBS shows. Now you know where I got it from. Mm-hmm. My great uncle, he would watch NBC and watch CBS. So I knew pretty much everybody. I knew who Bowen Hope was. I knew who the Walshes was. I knew who, Craig Montgomery. I knew all of them. The first major storyline that I can remember was Reva and Josh's wedding at Cross Creek. The first one. Because I was like, oh, fancy people. And I'm a kid, so I'm playing with Barbie dolls. So I'm like, oh, this is odd. Like, I'm like, look at them all in their pretty dresses and everything like that. But then, and that was oh, okay. The story that got me hooked was Days of Our Lives with Marlena being possessed. I was the kid. I was like, wait, they're doing this on of course, I grew up watching horror films. I watched Star Trek with my great grandmother, the reruns, and I'm like, they're doing this on the live. Like, what's going on? And she got her face is great.
Whatever she's saying is really good.
You're breaking up, Candace.
You're breaking up, Candace.
Yeah, we can't. No.
Well,
I'll share something really quick in case she can still hear me too. Back in the 1990s, probably the latter half of the 1990s, Candace, I live up here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, as Aaron and Tommy know. And I remember driving on the freeway one day, and to my shock, they would actually make billboards of soaps back then. And they did it when Reva was the clone, and they were pumping that storyline. They also did a big billboard with Sunny and Brenda during those years on GH. And I was just like, wow, that visibility we'll probably never see again. But you just never know. That was pre-social media. It was so cool to get something on a giant billboard next to the highway where tons of people are driving by.
My first big memory is still Carly being buried alive, which we all know Crystal Chappelle is my girl.
Oh my gosh.
Love you, Crystal Chappelle. But I think
okay, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, much better. Yeah.
Like, people still get mad at me. I'm like, I'm Carly and Bo. Like, I ship them. They were my couple because Hope, she had died and had left. And there was Carly and Bo, and they were wonderful.
Refresh my memory, Aaron. During that time, was it Robert Kilker Kelly? or was it?
Yes.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Robert Silver Kelly. Yeah.
That's the only
But-
Sith actor I met in real life.
However,
Really?
he looks so much like Bo.
Let Aaron finish though.
He looks so much like Bo that child Aaron couldn't tell the difference. You know,
Right.
So I was
So,
5. I was
Okay,
5.
ain't-
Yeah.
wasn't that
I
much,
was like 14.
not that much difference.
I
was
I
5,
started
so-
watching these with the Last Blast crew, like Belle, Sean, Philip, Chloe.
Aw.
That was like my first major story that I started watching with.
Yeah.
Because I was like, why are they making fun of this girl? Why is she dressed in all black? And Philip's kind of cute. I like his dimples.
That was probably what, 99, 2000?
99, 2001,
2000.
like that time frame.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the
And
last
I've
thing you
been
guys
hooked
heard me say?
Say that
And then I
again.
got SoapNet like a year later, and then it's all history from there.
See, the Salem Stalker storyline, my great grandmother would record it for me. So she would record Days and Passions. Then every few days I'd go pick up the tape. We would chat for a couple of hours and
Yeah.
just talk. We would talk about soaps or we talk about other things. It's just a great way for me to spend time with my great grandmother. And that's something I'm so glad I did that because, you know,
It's,
you don't
it's
have them for too long.
It's interesting because, like I was saying before, I didn't know my mic wasn't working. That just like a soap opera, right? Dramatics. My family, there was a mixture of soaps watching, and like I said, Reva and Josh, but then the Marlena storyline just was like wow me. But I can remember my mom was watching General Hospital, and they were talking about Robin and Stone, and she was like, I just remember her talking and saying, oh my God. I remember going to a book fair, okay, in school. And in the book, right in the middle, like as soon as you come in, right in the middle, it was Robin's Diary. ABC present Robin's Diary, story based off a storyline on General Hospital, ABC's popular soap opera. So I was like, okay, I had $10 when $10 actually mattered. And I went up to the lady and I said, yes. And she looked at me. She looked at the book. She was like, honey, do you know what this is? And I said, it's Robin's Diary. She said, okay. She understood, okay. And I read it because, again, I knew who Robin was. And I'm reading it. They made sure to, put it in words that kids could understand. And I remember how General Hospital, now the storyline itself, it ranks as one of the top 10 of my all-time favorite storylines because I thought it was crafted well, okay? When I say that the way they promoted it, and I'm going to say this because a huge audience of soap viewers are young adults, is the teens, who stayed home for the summer or who quote unquote was sick and or whatnot and stayed home and whatnot. I remember the ABC after school break special. Wow. I remember in sex ed when it was okay to teach this, that they had, Kimberly and Michael do a video about it. I remember them on Nick News. I remember that, that's they made sure to connect to the audience that needed to see this storyline. So I always say this, Claire, Wendy Rich, and crew, thank you.
Yeah.
Because
Claire and Wendy did all of that, and
they did all of that.
Grades.
They didn't have to. That's another thing about why I think this genre has survived in 91 years is that certain people, certain writers, producers, and actors have took a chance. They just rolled the dice and was like, you know what? Whatever happens, happens. If the wind blows it to the left, we go with that. If it goes to the right, we go with that. And so it's like, and I love the fact that we all have said, we remember certain things. Like I remember the kickoff I remember the final episode of Capitol. 5-year-old Candace was home that day. when Stallone was about to get gunned down, and I still want to know if she's been gunned down or not. So
I forgot that ended on a cliffhanger until you said that just now.
So if somebody can find out if we can get Capital back, right? I need to know if Stallone survived, because all I remember was she was like, "To the people, oh my God," and then it was like, like coming on Monday.
I can't promise you an ending.
Canceled abruptly.
But the talk is it's going to be on Pluto TV, Capital, As the World Turns, Guiding Light, and Love of Life. They're all
okay. I need to know something.
No, don't do this.
Another world, but
look, we're live, right? We're live, so I can't say what I was
going to need to see your source cited page so I can see where this info is coming from.
Right, I'll share that with you after.
No, because I'm going to tell you something. Wait,
with
so
Pluto, can you on demand, like, can you pick which show you want to watch, or do you
you're
have
gonna
to
go
watch
in there? Like, I just downloaded the app yesterday, you guys, and what it is how it is on Apple TV. And Aaron, you could download it. I downloaded it for free. That's all I had to do. And then there was a guide, and you could just see almost like a television guide. And I could go to
various channels dedication.
It would show you what episodes. It was like Bold and the Beautiful, and it would be like 3 of them in a row, and then they'd switch over to Young and the Restless. You know,
they do have it.
Time period.
They pick what you wanted to watch, or did you have to watch it live?
You do not get to pick. You have. It's much like SoapNet, where it's like this is what
it's
they're airing right now.
Like it's
marathon. We have to record. We have to figure out how to record Pluto.
Actually, I think you can pick. Hang on, let me.
Wait a minute, you just wait. I just want everybody to know that, Lynn, you just blew my mind, because here's the thing. The question has always been presented to me. Candace, what soap could you bring back to be like in today's society? And I said 4 soaps. I've always said these 4. One is Capital, because it's political. I mean, need I say more?
Not to interrupt you, but you can pick what you want to watch on Pluto if you go to demand or type it in and go to the show.
Okay.
I think so. There's commercials though. There's commercials.
The free one you cannot. Let's put it that way. So that's what the difference probably is.
Yeah. But no, I mean, like Capital, Sunset Beach would be great on CW.
Oh, I'd love to see Sunset
Beach. Edge of Night would be good on NBC, not ABC. No offense. And the final one is Generations. Obviously, for the various reasons.
I want to see Generations so bad. I never got to see Generations.
It was you know what? That's another, you know what? Sally Sussman, let me give her shout out right now too.
Isn't she part of Forever and a Day?
Well, yes, she is.
Oh. Is that going to be us all the time?
I mean, seriously, you don't have to wait for tomorrow. This is when you were supposed to put your 2 parts in. You were supposed to put that part in. Trust me. That is the best. It's like when somebody said, like, obviously, do you guys know the soap opera Prayer?
There's a prayer.
Okay. All right. So
Mommy and I had this discussion recently. We thought we were soap fans.
Right.
Right.
I'm literally going to read this because this is legit. When the world was young and restless, we were worried about the days of our lives. God said, "You're all my children. Let me be your guiding light. I will take you to another world." There's more to it, but
I'll take you to another world and be your passion for life.
And that's what it was actually. Now that I think about it, because they had One Life to Live in it, they had a lot. I was like, I learned that when 5th grade. that tells you how my family operated. But no, I mean, it's crazy because, and I always say this: name another genre that has fans so passionate. And I'm not talking about sports.
My great grandmother passed away of cancer in 1997. But if they would have had like a Make-A-Wish for older people, hers was to meet Victor Newman. She wanted to meet Victor Newman.
He's so nice.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, it's so cute. I mean, sad because
I mean, I remember speaking of great grandparents. I remember my great grandmother may God rest her soul, because she died of cancer too, and she was a huge CBS fan, and woo, Lord. But I remember it was 1999 Daytime Emmys. We all know what happened that night. It was Candace's prom night too. It was her junior prom.
For the Daytime Emmys.
It was my junior prom, and I remember saying, please record this. Make sure that it's recording, Grandma. Make sure the downstairs VCR and the upstairs VCR are both working, just in case. You know, she's like, girl, if you don't go to your prom, don't worry about it. So I remember, like, you know, at the prom, you're supposed to have fun and everything. And I was having fun. Don't get it twisted. But then, like, everybody wanted to go to somewhere to eat. I'm like, I'm going home, right? So I go home. I get in the door. My great grandma is right there. I was like, did it record? She said, yes. I said, all right, I'm coming upstairs. I'm lifting my dress and everything. And I'm thinking that for those who had VCRs, you remember this, you had to rewind, right? So I'm thinking, okay, the Daytime Emmys had ended. So it probably was like maybe 15 minutes. If I rewind the tape 15 minutes, I can get to see who was lead actor and lead actress, right? That's all I was caring about. And so she was like, come on, sit next to me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I get to see if as soon as I'm like, I'm so excited. She rewound it all the way back to the Price is Right primetime special. And so I remember just was like, she was like, oh no, you're going to watch this with me. We're staying up all night. I'm not letting you touch anything. So of course, you know, Tony, you know, Jonathan Jackson won. It was this final award because he was leaving. You know, Stuart Damon, I cried with that one. But then it was like, you know, Tony Geary. And it was like, of course, obviously. But then Shamar said, the streak is over. I was like,
I'm sensing a connection to why you stay up all night, Candace.
I know. Tommy and I will be like, we don't know how Candace does it. We're in bed by my 9 o'clock Central Time. I am laying in bed almost asleep.
I was so excited. No,
I have missed I've missed so many Twitter spaces from you just because I am asleep. I'll wake up and be like, oh man, I feel so bad. Like I'm missing.
It sound like I stay up like I only do Twitter space like between 8 and 9 my time. Sometimes at 11, depending on where like on Saturdays. Be quiet, Tommy. And
there's been nights where it's been past midnight, and I've been like, I've drifted off, and I've woken up, and you're still talking.
Here's what happens. So we'll start talking about soaps. It'll just be a random thing because I used to when Periscope was a thing. Remember Periscope? You remember those? Mm-hmm. I would always come with random topics and everything. So with Twitter Space, Twitter made a big mistake by doing this, but in a good way. I was to come on because I need to vent, and 200 word, me typing is not going to do it. I need to vent. So it's a great way for me to hear other people's opinions because I think that's another thing too. With the soap genre is not everybody's going to think the same, and that's fine. Even the writers don't think the same as the fans or, stuff like that. But the one
we've
thing
seen it on soap Twitter, it's a jungle
out
there.
On soap Twitter, I mean, but I think, even some of the crazies, the bottom line is that we're very dedicated to this genre, and, when somebody says that C word about a soap, and I'm talking about cancellation or rumor cancellation,
that hurts.
You will see fans come out like, okay, hold up. We were fighting about Jason and Carly a few minutes ago. Hold up. Save General Hospital. Who told y'all to try to cancel this show? Days of Our Lives. You see Young and the Restless fans be like, no, we're not doing this. Like, not today.
I think of soaps like this. You know how you always had that, well, you may not have, but if you have that sibling or cousin that you can pick on them, but nobody else can.
Exactly.
That's how
well, it's like you're just trying to cancel it. The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah. It's like I don't watch General Hospital that often. I try to. It's just not something I could ever get into. That doesn't mean it's not good. It just means it's not my cup of tea. But if someone's like cancel, I'm like, no.
I think all the networks have kind of learned their lesson on getting a little bit too triggery on canceling soaps. You know what I mean? I think what happened with Procter & Gamble really gave some credence to ABC to think it was okay to get rid of All My Children and One Life to Live. And when One Life to Live got canceled, it was practically the number 2 show behind Young and the Restless in the ratings.
It was
embarrassing on whomever's part was to do that, because then we know the trinkets and trash that they put on TV never lasted more than 3 months, and they kept playing juggling. They realize now that, you know, if you don't want to totally alienate your audience, and they did, ABC had a huge rebuttal from their audience where they would not buy the products that those advertisers were showing during those shows at General Hospital, that they learned their lesson. And I think even though we see sometimes where the numbers might be for Days of Our Lives, they too realize we can't just push it off the table because it's not number 1. You know what I mean?
It's number 1. It's Peacock's number 1 most streamed show.
I remember when they first canceled and I didn't watch All My Children, One Life to Live daily. I mean, I was in college. I can't watch every soap that was on television. I tried, but it was hard.
What are you trying to say, Aaron?
It was very hard to watch all of them. Some people can. I can't.
Well,
I was trying to work like 4 jobs. But what I'm saying,
there was at least 12 on the air.
When they brought the Revolution on, wasn't that the name of the show, Revolution, where they were trying to whatever? I was like, no. I went hardcore. I was like, no, what?
It didn't do well. I mean, they brought on what's his face from the Home Improvement Nightly show to try and have that face to try and pull that audience into it, and it didn't work. Like, this might sound mean, but I still don't watch The Talk because depending on the guest, if Nuts Landon is on there as the World Turns or Guiding Lights,
I won't watch The Talk because it took Soap's place.
But I will say, because and it's crazy because the shows like The View and The Talk, mainly The Talk now, they would promote the soaps that was on the network. Like, General Hospital, All My Children, One Life to Live, Poor Charles, whatever, they would be on The View. They would be like, today on The View, Cassie the Pirate talks about this brand new episode, stay tuned. And then The Talk, I mean, they have, Young and the Restless and Bold and Beautiful stars. And, a couple of years ago when CBS was celebrating 30 at number 1, they invited, and this was a big thing. Look, I still remember when Angelica McDaniel, by the way, I missed you, girl, when she announced that they were going to celebrate the whole CBS daytime. And of course, I'm thinking Young and Bold. Then when she said, oh no, the whole daytime of 30 years. And I'm like, as the World Turns and Guiding Light do? She was like, oh yes. I was like, okay. And that's why, and even The Talk, like, even though, right now it's going through their own soap opera right now, they also incorporated Days of Our Lives and General Hospital.
I liked how Kelly Clarkson brought on Deidre Hall and Robert Wilson.
And I was happy about that. I was happy about that because it's about time. Again, like I said, Days of Our Lives, the ongoing joke was always, on CBS, Guiding Light was always the redheaded stepchild, right? Because it was the longest one and nobody pays, With One Life to Live, it was the redheaded stepchild of ABC. For NBC, Days of Our Lives is that kid that's in the corner that y'all forgot about. Days is Kevin from Home Alone. And that was the ongoing thing. So now, like, the biggest thing I always say is that when you're trying to promote your shows, you have to go through what's new, what's hip, what's cool, what's eye-catching. And Kelly Clarkson she's the new it girl of daytime.
Oh God, yes.
And
she is. I mean, I love her.
I've loved her since, Idol. Justin and Kelly, that's a whole different story.
She don't even like talk about that.
We all make mistakes, honey.
Karen's got that DVD, I'm sure.
I don't have that. That's the one DVD I was like, I remember someone told me, it was like, ooh, no, it's bad. I was like, how bad? They're like, it's bad.
But no, you're seeing the soap stars, cross promote, and that's a great way to connect to newer viewers to kind of pull them in. I will, like you brought up about Lisa Rinna. To me, Beyonce was smart in 4 ways. 1, they incorporated history. Mm-hmm. The element, Peacock. Like, again, if you've been watching, I always say this: if you were a fan during the '90s, this was your cup of tea. This was seriously your show because it incorporated the '90s adventure. If you were a fan of the Real Housewives franchise and didn't know that Eileen and Lisa was on, I mean, obviously you heard about it, but to see them, you have that audience pulled in. You have, you have the comedy.
And hence they did a throwback to it in Beyond Salem because
exactly. And a lot of people knew about that. Like, again, if you're not watching Real Housewives, I don't watch it like religiously, but I even knew about that scene. I was like,
yeah,
because you had to promote, you had to use the big names to get people hooked in. The fact that they literally on social media, whether it was TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Insta, you kept seeing, watch Beyond Salem on Peacock.
Even Sony promoted it.
Everybody tweeted me that day. They was like, Candace, sit down because something
Sony's
just
acknowledging Days.
And I was like, what happened? I'm like, what's going on? They said, we're going to tweet you something. Sit down. And I'm like, I'm thinking something regarding God. Like, I'm thinking so outside the box. I'm like, what the heck? And then when I saw Sony Television, and I was like, okay, this is scaring me. And then I saw the promo, and I was like,
I was like this. Twitter, news, Sony days.
But then, but to make sure I wasn't crazy, I literally went onto the official website, and it was the first thing that you saw. It's like coming soon on Peacock. Beyonce, I'm like, they have a page for them. I was like, no, like this is not happening. Like this has been my dream for days. Everybody jokes, that, I work for CBS. But I can also work for ABC. So, but no, I just feel as though like CBS knows how to promote their soaps, during prime time. Look, I remember doing the NFL Today. They had a Young and the Restless promo. Obviously, we saw the college basketball stuff that they did. ABC
they used to do that too, though. Like I remember watching Friends back when it was on, and you would see a promo for Days and prime.
But you got to remember, why did you see it during Friends? Because Joey was into our lives. He had that cross. But after Friends,
I always remember going, Days does not film in New York City. It films in Los Angeles.
I know, right?
Let it go.
I know. I just remember that being me. Like, Days don't film in New York.
I mean, but that's the thing is that, afterwards, NBC didn't promote Days. And it was kind of, look, I'm still salty. Y'all think I have to let it go. I know. I have to talk to Soap Jesus and go to soap therapy. But I remember, if you look up on YouTube, Bill Hayes on Jimmy Fallon. Okay. And this was a real situation. This was, okay, so Bill and Susan Hayes was in Jimmy Fallon's audience with, I think, their grandson. And Jimmy Fallon, somebody asked a question about, something about the longevity. I got to remember all of it, but they had said that, they was like him. And it was Bill Hayes. So they can, doing, this wasn't recorded for the real show. It was like behind the scenes and stuff like that. So he comes down and Jimmy is interviewing him, right? And they're talking to Bill Hayes about his, career, Davy Crockett and all this stuff that he's been around, television, radio and stuff like that. And I'm thinking to myself, this is amazing. First and foremost, it's amazing. But how come nobody knew who Bill Hayes was? Like, as far as somebody...
He's the only, him and Susan are the only soap stars to ever be on Time magazine.
Right. And not only that, and I know this for a fact because I've been there, on the NBC New York tour, I don't know if they took it, let me see. It was still there because I remember that year I went. In the hallway, there's the wall of stars. That's what they call it. And so they have Days of Our Lives, and they have the cast. So I'm like, wait a minute. How did they not know who they, like, to me? And I guess because, somebody said, Candace, do you honestly think they should have known who they were? I'm like, half of me is like, okay, reality can is no, they shouldn't. But then again, I'm like, somebody should have, especially working at NBC. Like, Google, that's Bill Hayes. Okay, Jimmy, real quick. He's been they are super couple. Because now you think about it, when during the pandemic they had the whole thing when they had Maurice Bernard and they had Mary Beth Evans on for a little bit. They were like doing a tongue-in-cheek thing. But I'm just like, okay, NBC, really? And then, you know, NBC did an anniversary special and they showed and I still remember this, 1 minute and 42-second clip of Days of Our Lives. As again, and like I said, you know, to me, Days deserves to be treated a certain type of way. I'm glad that they're being treated like it now. You're getting promoted. You know, you're seeing the young folks on these scenes.
It would have been interesting if Days hadn't been able to film so far in advance and they had to show repeats like the other shows did in the lockdown.
Yeah,
and if they would have repeated the Marlena possession story, think of how maybe it would have brought more eyeballs now. Unfortunately, it's great that they had new episodes to keep up, but I think they could have almost benefited like some of the other shows did, because I'm like, wow, is COVID going to kill the soaps? And it didn't. They were the first things to come back, and the audience really stuck with it, and their numbers kind of rose. It would have been interesting if Days could have showed repeats, if that's what they would have chose to show. That would have been really interesting to pull in that audience of like, here's shows from 20 years ago, and have so many of the older crew go, I remember that, and then the younger ones attached to it.
That's what I'm loving about Days right now with the possession storyline. That whole script that Johnny's doing leads to like 1 minute Abigail and Chad's reading the script.
They've had constant press. They went from all that Beyond Salem press right into all the possession press.
Yep.
Like they've been on a roll as far as
now,
being in like
because I know people were mad, you know, and this is why I said, like, if you're a soap fan, you understand the importance of what Rob and Victoria were doing with that magazine shoot, how they were paying homage to.
I love that.
And people didn't understand what was the big, you know, deal about that. The fact that Bill and Susan Hayes was the first daytime couple to go on mainstream news, like magazine. Time magazine was not Soap Opera Weekly. You know, everybody knew Doug and Julie from Soap Opera Weekly, Soap Opera Update, Digest, Time, you know, Time Soap and everything. But for them to be on Time magazine, that was such a big freaking deal that nobody could understand that. That was just like when As the World Turns cast was on TV Guide. Nobody understood how big that really was until you realize, oh crap, that was the first soap to be on a publication like TV Guide and Time Magazine. It's sort of like Luke and Laura when Jeannie and Tony was on Newsweek.
Mm-hmm. As the World Turns was #1 for 20 years. From 1958 to 1978, they pulled in an average of 10 million viewers. Can you imagine the money? And we've all talked about this and know this, but the money and the eyeballs that audience brought to CBS.
I think what also hurts is the Nielsen ratings are so out of date.
They
don't reflect
done.
Actually, like
they really don't have an accurate way, I believe, to track at all what eyeballs they have on daytime programming right now.
No, they don't.
Or well, any programming almost.
No.
Yeah. True. With how everything's changed, and I mean how I look at my friends who have kids and they go, "Oh, you have channel TV?" I'm like, "Is that the term for it?" Okay.
Yeah, I don't have cable.
I don't have channel TV either.
I have like the 4 networks and that's it. I haven't cut the cord yet because I'm like, now I'm streaming and doing way too many things too much. I get the notice from Xfinity Comcast all the time, you're about to cap out. I'm like, oh, imagine if I was watching whatever shows like General Hospital and having to stream that too. I'd be going over and they'd be billing it for me all the time.
I think somehow we get unlimited. I'm not sure how. Like
Fortunate. I envy you.
Tommy and I podcast or things like that. Or if we're on a call with
Did any of you guys
about Mickey Mouse
Did
Club,
any of you Did you guys ever watch a soap opera in the 80s called Rituals?
I know of it, but I didn't watch it.
Look.
I'm guessing Candace did and isn't proud that she did.
Wait, no. Okay, here's how Candace knew about it, because
I've been trying to find Rituals and I can't find it anywhere.
I call me. TBS. I remember, like, I joke with people. I can remember when Edge of Night was on USA Network. The reruns. That's how I knew about Edge of Night, was because of that. Thank you, Uncle Mike, for getting me cable.
I can remember when Edge of Night moved from CBS to ABC. So there we go.
There you go.
I know Mary Beth Evans was on Rituals and Before Days, and I've been like trying to find it on YouTube, and I can't find it anywhere. Candace, DM me.
Call her, beat her.
Call me, beat me. If
I didn't know she was on there.
I didn't do a Kim Fox. No, I like, and it's crazy because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, you know, the one soap that popped in my mind that what another soap that was ahead of its time was The City.
Mm-hmm. I've been trying to find that one too.
Yeah. Call me, reach me if you want to. Okay. Anyway, but the thing is, I remember. Look, I'm going to tell you something. One of my other favorites, like my all-time favorite murder mystery storylines, Aaron, Tommy, you guys both know this. Anybody who follows me knows this, was The Love and Murders. Let me tell you something. I know the show was canceled. I know it was going out. It was like deuces. ABC was like, we don't got time for you. But the fact that you had the writers, which also include Jane Elliott, let me clarify that. Jane Elliott, aka Tracy Quartermain, who was on over there too, for them to craft that story in a way that I don't think no soap will ever do. Because even though the show was being canceled, they killed off their long-term characters. Like, they were done. But they did it in such a way that it had to make you use your thinking skills. You really had to think, who could probably be doing this? Why would they be doing this? And the fact that, you know, poor Stacy, I never looked at a Powerpuff ever the same again. I'm like, no, this might be too poisonous. The best one was Jeremy. But look, I took ceramics, and I'll leave it at that. I was traumatized for a while there because, you know, that dry cement, spoiler alert, that cement, that scared the crap out of me. I was like, nope. But they did it in such a brilliant way. And then, you know, they crossed over to The City, which was New York's version of Melrose Place in a sense. It was ahead of its time. It was Real World. If anybody watched Real World, guess what that concept came from.
Debbie Morgan on it.
Oh yeah, Debbie Morgan was everywhere. Debbie Darnell.
She's on Our Kind of People. I love that's my new favorite show.
Love that show. Everybody supports that show. Please support that show.
I support it. I haven't been able to watch it yet.
But you had Debbie. You had the first transgender on The City. You know, which really? I don't think a lot of people, you know, and that's another thing, you know, 91 years of soaps, and you think about all the social storylines that has, you know, happened, how it affect the audience, as well as the actors.
See, I think that's something soaps are missing right now. They don't do a lot of the social.
I agree. It's been like 10 to 15 years since a big social
relevant story. I've been waiting for soaps to talk about HIV and being like undetectable, because so many people have no idea what that means, or PrEP or anything like that. I'm just like, okay, why aren't we talking about that? Because that's, you know,
it's unfortunate I was watching Wilson isn't on Days of Our Lives full time again, because
that's why I was hoping for a thirple with Ali, Chanel, and Tripp, just because, because it hasn't been done.
Right.
And I thought that'd be fun.
Mm-hmm.
I will always say that, you know, the one social story that I feel as though they overuse as a plot device is rape.
Yes.
And, you know, you just brought up Days, and, you know, this is not towards Ron or anything, because I know a lot of people come, but this is one of Days' soap troops is a rape. It goes back to the 60s, 70s, but like in the last decade or so, every 2 years or 3 years, there's always been somebody who was raped. And the thing is that I feel as though sometimes they use it, but they don't go through the execution. And I'll explain. With Allie, they had a good setup, but they fell flat when it wasn't even a thing.
Yeah,
and
they
now
don't show the long-term trauma.
Right. And to me, I look at storylines like Elizabeth's rape, which
on General Hospital, yeah, that was something.
That was
actually, but that was back in the days. I really feel like, Candace, where the head writers would write out a Bible and they would figure out the whole storyline arc and when they were going to have milestones and execute. It hasn't happened in the genre, I feel, in a long time. It hasn't happened on General Hospital in years.
That's what I like about
the recent letdown with the Sunny reveal of him getting his memory card coming back, and it was just a total letdown, and you're like yawning on your phone the entire episode because
it was so painful. Like I agree. Is that somebody said, people need to let go of All My Children, One Life to Live, Gone Like Nassau, Turns Another World. And this is what I say about this.
Oh, hell no, you're forgetting.
Yeah, you have 4 soaps. Each network should be honored and blessed to still have these shows on. We should be blessed and honored. You take a look at Young and the Restless. Young and the Restless told some amazing social storylines. Mm-hmm. They've told storylines that have stuck through years, right? With Days of Our Lives, like I said, Days of Our Lives is their own unique breed. Okay, it's very interesting. It's their own breed. Both they've had their moments, and with General Hospital, look, it's been 30 years, right? Since that BJ storyline. Mm-hmm. When I tell you, if you talk to somebody about that BJ storyline with the heart.
He means Barbara Jean, for those of you who don't watch.
Yes, it's not that BJ. Okay.
Even I know about that story.
But no,
I've never really watched GH, and even I know about that story.
Okay,
right.
good.
It still tugs your. They recently did, I think it was TV Line or it was some television publication, did like the top 20 moments that just heartbreaking moments, right?
Yep. Maxie has her heart, right?
Yeah, Maxie does have her heart. Yep.
Yeah, Maxie.
And they just mentioned it on the show recently too, which is good.
Which is good. They always go there. But when I tell you that, they talked about 24, they talked about One Tree Hill, they talked about the OC, they talked about, Law and Order, stuff like that. Number 6 was the BJ Hart storyline. Now think about that. Considering they said like 20, so it's 20, like they had 6 Feet Under, they had all these shows. That was the only soap opera moment to make it on that list.
Wow.
And that speaks very highly of how far we.
Not only was it relevant, but at that point in time, General Hospital really had a long-term cast where they used all the history and all the cast correctly.
Yeah.
And hit all the points that they needed to. It was very poignant. It was very touching. It was very relevant. Thus why people do remember it. Thus why it's ranking as high as what Candace is saying. It's like, that's the struggle that soaps are going through right now. Is it would be fantastic if they could write something and film it and make it as relevant now as it was back then. So this is 2021. If the soaps are still around in 2041, somebody's going to talk about a storyline that happened in 2021. Right now, I don't know if that's going to happen other than Days having the revisit of the storyline. Because it's not going to happen with Young and the Restless, Bold and the Beautiful, and General Hospital right now.
And the sad thing is that, we're also fans. We've been watching these shows for so long that we can honestly come up with storylines for all these shows to be good. You just brought up the Sunny reveal about Carly and Jason. When I say that was the hugest, look, General Hospital as late has been giving me these build-ups where They build it up to a good, like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot wait for this.
You're ready for something.
And it's like, I joked, I said, Sonny Carruthers died 9 months ago. If you got pregnant, congratulations on the baby. Love the children, okay? But for it to not happen the way it's supposed to, like, and the sad thing is, and I think Tommy and Aaron, you guys were on Twitter Space with me the night before that all this came, because I didn't read no spoilers, I didn't know anything. I mapped this all out. I said, I was thinking Sonny was going to come back like around this time. I said, so I could see like Carly and Jason are about to do something. Then Sonny comes in and she's like, oh, and then they get into this huge argument. And it's like, you waited until I died so you can get with Jason. And Jason is like, hold on, no. And then Sonny's like, you shut up. And you could have really blew that trio up.
Totally.
Oh, we got married for a marriage of convenience. Okay, that's cool. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, I'm sorry. Am I dreaming this episode? Because seriously, you literally had all of the material for this to carry on until next year. Okay. Because some of these shows got to start thinking about this. Some of these storylines need to wrap up because we're getting ready for a new year. So you mean to tell me, General Hospital writer, Stan and Chris, I'm calling you out. Y'all could not do this one thing that fans have been waiting for forever and a day. And then like you could have really gave Steve, Laura, and Maurice, as well as Cynthia Watro's material that you literally could have blew that trio, the Holy Trinity, up.
Well, maybe they'll do it tomorrow because it's a new day.
Oh, Tommy, we're on the outskirts of this.
Hey,
man, I gotta throw in each of these. So.
I'm gonna see if whoever gets this, but it's also a brand new start. Brand new start. Oh, we don't have the rights to that. Okay, sorry, Blue fans, I couldn't do it for you.
Sorry, I had to.
I know you did. See that.
Don't get me wrong. I enjoy General Hospital. I enjoy that they've got long-term players on there. They're trying to stay, for the most part, true to their characters. It was soap opera light when this happened, guys, and it's like they got a lot of hate on Twitter, and unfortunately, it was deservedly so because they milked this for 9 months and finally had the star of their show come back, who is great and has been there a long time. But it was just like walking in the door, like he just came home from work, and you just go, "Hey, it's fine. Okay, we're caught up."
Here's how crazy it was. Like I said, soap Twitter, soap fans, we can't agree if the sky is purple or blue. So you had General Hospital fans who, like, it's the J-San fans liaison, all these fans going, blah, blah, blah. When that day happened, that episode aired. When I say it was like every General Hospital fan across the board, from Facebook to Twitter to Insta, message boards in between. Everybody was like, you build the storyline up. You've been the soap. In all honesty, General Hospital has been since COVID, since the return of, from, when they was down and out because of COVID. They came back swinging. They came back saying, we're going to show you why we're that show. We're going to show you why we are that flagship. And they were doing really good. This was the Super Bowl storyline. When I say that, I felt like somebody slapped me into next year because I was like, so there's no fallout. Like there's nothing at all. I'm like, you built it.
I don't know what to say.
Ready to wrap it up and move on.
Yeah. So I'm not watching Young and the Restless right now. Is anybody else on here doing it? And is there a reason why it's number one? And what are you enjoying about Young and the Restless right now?
I'm not watching it right now. I pretty much just watch Days. I've been watching so much classic soaps for the podcast that I really don't have time.
We are stuck in the 80s, like.
And I'm glad you're saying those things.
I do it too.
You know what? After what Candace and I talk about, those are kind of the golden years. So if you want
on that same wavelength, what are some of the classic storylines that are like your favorite storylines? That like when you think about like your childhood, like, oh, I remember this storyline.
I will say I'll talk about As the World Turns a little bit because you guys have watched a little bit of that. But when as the world turns in the mid 80s, when they got Douglas Marland on as a writer, he took a look at the show because it was suffering, because now it had been #1 for 20 years and they went from #1 down to like #6. So for 5 years, they didn't have somebody there that was doing anything great other than the Steve and Betsy storyline. And I got to see Meg Ryan get married on there, and that was cool because I was a fan for life of hers. But when they brought Douglas Marland on, he revisited the Hughes family, as well as he totally wrote and invented the Snyder family. And that was a huge, intricate part of that show. And he held on to Lucinda and Lily Walsh and had them interweave with the Schneiders. That it gave that show legs for years. It was amazing. It was a very cool time where you're like, there was so much going on. There were so many kids. All the Snyder kids weren't on the show at once, and so one by one they kept bringing them on, and there was a lot of, you just didn't know what you were going to get, and every day made you turn in, because I think CBS maybe had a slogan, or one of the soaps did at the time, where it was like, miss a day and miss a lot, and that was true with As the World Turns at that time, from the mid 80s to the mid 90s.
See, I wish Days would bring in a new family. I would just like to see a new where everyone's not related. Yeah,
everybody does not have to be connected.
That's like everyday's fans' dream, because look, I remember when they unrelated Brady and Teresa so they can date.
Mm-hmm. Which made them change John's backstory for like the 10th million time.
Oh yeah, John Black is the most the character of John Black. We've gone through Priesthood. He was an LMA. He was Demira. He was a Brady. He was a.
They should have just kept him in Alamein. I feel like that was his best, most consistent story. They should have just kept him in Alamein.
Then there was going to be some rewrites with some family members with that too. Like that's another thing with soaps. Only on soaps can you have a child from quote unquote when you had memory loss, who turns up years later and wants revenge on you because you neglected them on the island, or you have a serial killer who you think died but came back, but the plastic surgeon wrote "killer" on your forehead. David, what's up? You can have the twins.
I know. Oh, sorry. Okay. I was gonna say, we both go to some of the Spectrum celebrity events, and one of the attendees is from the UK, and what she loves about US soaps is that they do a lot of this crazy stuff, because the UK soaps are a little bit more grounded.
And
but they cover more
our soaps are more grounded.
I mean, but what's crazy, and you just brought up something, is that going to like one of the earliest memories that for me, oh God, I mean, this definitely ranks up. It was the Buried Alive storyline, and I'm gonna tell you why that actually stands out. That and the cloning storyline on Guiding Light, because I got to bring up Guiding Light. Shout out to my Guiding Light. To me, that was a time where soaps were like, this can actually happen. But you guys think it wouldn't happen. I mean, sadly, we've actually heard stories of people being quote unquote buried alive because of money disputes. When the cloning storyline was happening, look, Guiding Light fans will always say that was the worst storyline. That was such a stupid storyline. But you got to realize something too. Around that time with science, they were doing what was it? Dolly? What was the lamp?
Dolly.
And the lamp. The lamp. And the question always was, what would happen if they do it with a human being? Okay, Guiding Light, show us what you're making up.
Well, Ron
Ron
tweeted something one time, like someone was wearing a mask or something. And he was like, "See, it can happen."
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is that with soaps, they don't tell too far stretch. I mean, obviously, alien twins, Gemini twins. But then you have, the whole adoption stuff and people secretly lying about it. But with Guiding Light, I think the other story that stands out is Eleni and Frank and Alan Michael. And that love story, because it was it wasn't just the rich boy and the poor boy. It was, the good values of somebody. But Alan Michael also had good intentions, but it was that Spalding blood that was running through his veins, and that was the Spalding Cooper, feud. And,
I love a good feud.
Right, and that's something else that's kind of missing in soaps, I think, is that you can still do a triangle without a DID. Or I'm not gonna say no shows names, or the fact that they lied or something. Like, to me, just a real good triangle, because I always feel as though if you do a triangle, the point is for the fans to kind of be divided. Like, and I'll give you one of the best hands down triangle of all time, and I want somebody to fight me on this. Lily, Holden,
Damien.
Look, you could not tell this girl how was I?
That was as the world turns in like the early to mid 90s.
Right. Like Lily. Yeah. Lily and Holden was.
You wouldn't say Brenda, Sunny, Jax?
That was okay. So let me clarify this.
You're gonna have to do it by network.
Here's the thing. I would have said that. I would have said that. To me, that is General Hospital's like most notorious. But when I say, because everybody wanted Lily and Holden together, they were they're so perfect together. Oh, hearts and everything, love forever. When Damien rolled into town with Lily, as a Lily and Holden fan, okay, you was like this.
Damien is Luke's father, right? His biological father?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, because the whole point is, and I'll give you another one, Victor, Nikki, and Ashley. To me, what you need to do when you have a couple that's kind of the staple of your show, you already demonstrated why they are the couple that people love and enjoy. When you enter a third party, you need to also make it equal, because then it's going to be like, oh shoot, who do I want such and such with? Do I want?
Yeah, that's what I love about a triangle is when I can't decide who I want. Like right now, like Philip, Brady, and Chloe. That's not a triangle. Like, I'm just like, stop pissing me off.
Right. I mean, the thing is that you know with Sunny, Brenda, and Jax. Here's the thing. I'll be honest. You all knew who Brenda was going to end up with, and let me explain what I'm about to say. She had the passion, the raw passion with Sunny. Okay, we all remember the Wire episode when he ripped that, and she was on the floor, she crying and everything. With Jax, he was the good blue-eyed blonde who was rich and was like caviars and champagne wishes and all that stuff.
The white knight, if you will.
I'm the knight. I'm here to save you. But in reality,
one she should want, but she's drawn to the other one.
Well, she wants the bad boy.
But she also wants the glam. I used to always say, and I actually found the tweet that I said, Brenda's going to be by herself. Because Brenda's complicated. She loves herself.
That's what I always loved about John, Marlena, and Roman was, we thought John was Roman, but then when we found out he wasn't, Marlena should have been just willing to go back to her husband, the person she really, that she truly loved, but she was still drawn to John, and she couldn't.
There's still some like hardcore Roman and Marlena fans to this
because
day.
they got screwed.
Mm-hmm.
They feel as though, and you have fans who do feel as though, like when shows write for another couple over the couple that you like, and that's where the fandom comes from. Is like
Tommy's been waiting 22 years for Philip and Chloe, and he's not.
I'll wait.
Look, I'm just gonna say this. I know the history of that little trio. And one of the things about soaps too is that, as time goes on, you have a lot of writers who come in who, do not know the history. Obviously, they need to read the rules, how not to wreck the soap, because it clearly says if you're a new writer, do your research and don't F up the history, because who knows the history of soaps? The fans. So to me, the whole Philip, Brady, Chloe thing, I was there from the first part when she was not, let me repeat what I'm about to say. She was not in love with him in high school, as previously mentioned. It was afterwards. Thank you. But that triangle, like, to me, you can only do so much, because I feel as though I'm kind of tapped out. I'm like, okay, I wanted Brady and Chloe. I got that. I had Philip, I had that. To me, you got to give me new reasons for me to be like, you know what? 20-something years later, I now understand why I was this couple's, fan. I understand this, like, da-da-da. Give me reasons. with General Hospital.
Hopefully, Jamie Giddens being on the show now will help with that.
Bless his heart. He has so much riding on his back. That's what fans always say. I'm just like, oh, poor Jamie, because the bar is up here for Jamie.
But that's what a good show should do, is have many voices and many people having that open dialogue and discussion to make sure that show stays on track, instead of somebody like
Jamie
Ron,
knows the history and he
doesn't
can help
have
Ron.
a long history with that show. He needs those voices to tell him if he's staying on the right lane or if he's completely jumped the freeway.
I think sometimes you can just tell the writers it's just a check. You can tell when a storyline is.
I feel like CBS is sitting there right now with Young and the Restless.
I'm just going to read my book real quick while I'm just being slick.
Well, like when Ron first came on Days, he didn't really know Days, but he had Sherry Anderson with him, and he had Ryan Kwan to help him. Exactly. So I feel like having Jamie there is going to definitely help guide him as far as history is concerned.
I agree. That was a win for both parties.
Yeah, it was, but and it's crazy because again with Jamie, I mean, I remember that's somebody that I've watched grow, from being on a podcast, daytime, him, submitting storylines and getting knocked down by some other shows. Then all of a sudden he, teamed up with Victoria Raoul, then Ambitions, and now this. And as a soap fan, it just makes you like, especially, Aaron, I mean, we talked about this. When you've been a fan of this genre, it opens the door to so many opportunities. Look, once upon a time, Candace wanted to be on Guiding Light as a long lost Spalding. Guiding Light got canceled.
Trust me, I had my introduction to Days as a child.
Yeah.
When they made Will old enough, I was going to come on. And I was going to have my coming out story and all that. And, I kind of half got it. I just didn't get cast in the part.
Right.
But what I wanted happened. The character, I was like, this is the perfect one to be gay. I can just imagine. I will be Will. And I'll have a secret.
There you go. I mean, hey.
And then it really happened. I was like, well, I got to be more specific in my prayers.
And the character I wanted to play on Guiding Light is sort of the character I'm playing on Forever and a Day, Danielle being nosy. just not working at Spalding. Like
I never really watched Guiding Light. I've been watching it slowly on like 1999 because I wanted to see Crystal Chappelle when she first came on. And every episode I watched, there was like somebody I recognized. I saw Paul Wesley. He was credited by like his birth name. So I'm like, no, that's Paul Wesley. I know that face. And then I saw Brittany Snow and I was like, oh, she's on here. And then I saw a baby, what's his name? Jesse Lee Sofer.
Yup.
I was like, every episode there's somebody I recognize from something else.
That's what makes me mad when people are like soap still. I'm like, no, somebody
Hump Block was on there. I was like, Hump Block has been on every single New York
soap. He has.
He really has. Juliana Moore, Meg Ryan, and Hank, like all these big names. Soaps.
Yeah, that's the thing is that, I'm not going to say the person's name because I still remember the person who put that tweet out about Sasha Callie, who used to play Lola on Young and the Restless, and now she's Supergirl, y'all. Like, I
didn't know she was on Young and the Restless.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. And I remember the tweet of somebody saying, oh, she's just a soap actress. Okay. Candace had to take off her pretend earrings.
And I was like, my hoops.
I was like, I'm not, because usually I don't like, but I feel really passionate because I always say that there is such, a dark cloud over the genre from the outsiders.
Here's a good example of, not all actors or actresses could work on a soap. Remember when Joan Collins came to Guiding Light and couldn't
lasted for 3 months and was out of there?
I'm not trying to be mean towards Joan Collins or anything.
And Aaron, that was back in the days where they would film like one show a day. Imagine a nighttime actor or actress trying to go do a soap opera now, where they sometimes film 3 shows a day and have like
even Donna Mills.
Dialogue.
Didn't Donna
Mills say she didn't want to come on full time because it was a lot of like dialogue and like?
Have you guys seen the movie?
I believe so.
Did you guys ever see the movie Joy?
Yes.
Okay, So you guys know that Laura Wright, Maurice, and
Donna's in there.
Yeah. And
that other guy.
Yeah, yeah, John Entral, I think. But they had like, you know, the round table of the directors and producers and stuff, and they were asking, saying, well, why did you get soap actors to be in your movie? Like, and the way it was presented was like, oh, this is not a good thing. And so the director said, well, in all honesty, these people came on expecting 100 pages. And it was only condensed to like 50, like for their scenes and stuff, one take.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't prepared for the professionalism. And I think when you have like a Tisha Campbell, you know, some of these actors who are not soap actors, they sadly now when they go on a soap, they just want it to be on their resume. And then there's some who want to see how it is to be on a soap just so they can have that.
Insert James Franco's name here.
Okay. I'm
leading you to it, Candace. You just said it.
You notice I wasn't
was
going there. I was trying to be nice. But no, like I mean, you have some people who are doing it for their moms and their dads, like, okay, that's so sweet. But the thing is that you just want to get that, you know, like James Franco is going to be on General Hospital. Tune in and watch, you know.
The one I can't believe is the guy from Bold and Beautiful, Carter, who is now a writer and actor on the soap. I'm like, oh my gosh, how are you not like? I would fight like going out of my mind. You know, being on a soap and right, like, could you imagine how much time that has to take up?
But you know what? He's in great company because look, Francesca James, who was on All My Children, she was doing directing and writing and producing. Pamela Long, she was doing Gunlight and writing for the show. So it's like you got Heather Tom, who's directing, you know, the shows. You have people, and this is what I say about the soap genre to people who don't get it. It's a world of opportunities. You can start as an actor or actress, but you get producer.
You're breaking up, Candace.
Well, since she's breaking up, what I think would be interesting is if soaps could, like, Days introduced another family or that, and every so often they broke up batches of episodes, and maybe we focus on that family, but also on some of the other core families, and then just swap it back and forth.
Well, a few years ago.
Kind of like what Allison Sweeney does, how she rotates in and out.
Sure.
Yeah, a few years ago, it wasn't Ron. It was she who will not be named because I don't like her. They were doing, I think it was after the 50th or during the 50th. They were doing like standalone episodes. So they had like a Hope-centric episode, and then they had like a Jennifer-centric episode. I would have liked if they would have continued doing that, like maybe once a month. Because there's a real like characters.
Gary Light did that first, though.
Gary Light did that first, but here's the thing: you do realize that wasn't Dina, right?
Who was it, Josh?
Because remember, Dina left for a little bit.
Yeah.
So it was Josh.
Yeah, because think about it. Isn't that what they're doing on Young and the Restless now?
I don't know. I haven't been watching.
Oh, okay. Well, they're doing it on Young and the Restless. They're doing the Guy Light treatment, and that's the thing is that, you know, the thing
I can't figure out why aren't they putting in it, like, why did, if someone leaves a soap who hasn't been doing very well for the writing, sure, why do they bring them on another soap? I mean, come on.
You're friends.
Well, because
friends,
and he was also part of an era where there was an uptick in the ratings, so I think they were hoping to kind of like strike magic twice.
Okay,
and
you can't always have the James Riley strike twice.
Well, you know what's so funny?
Times, I guess.
I will say this: everybody who downplayed and says stuff about James Riley, he's turning over his grave right now and laughing because they're going to the story that he pitched to Ken Corday 30-something years ago when Ken Corday kind of was like,
well, and that's not the first story they've redone.
Yeah.
Vivian put Maggie in a coffin.
But, you know, it's funny because, like, all right, when you do a certain storyline, like the first time, right? The first time it's exciting, right? It's like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe, oh my God, this is so great. When you do it again
with a lesser budget.
Well, not only that, but there's something else that's kind of missing. It's the audience. The audience saw it already. Mm-hmm. If you're trying to show the new audience this, they're going to be like this. Case in point, the possession storyline. Do you know how many people on social media, and I'm pretty sure you guys did see this, when it even was brought up, people who currently watching Days, not long-time viewers, I'll get to them in a minute, but Days fans was like, I'm gone. My favorite character and couple's not a part of this. I'm not going to watch this. This is some stupid stuff. This is not going to bring the ratings in. Days of Our Lives is going to be canceled. Good job. Da-da-da-da-da-da. This is really dumb and stupid. Why they got to focus on John and Marlena all the time? The longtime viewers who was there for the first one, they was like, I'm not going to watch it. Then there's some people who say, I'm going to watch it just so I can see what they're going to do. And that was my big thing, is that, okay, they're doing a storyline, but they're ushering and they're using the new generation. You got to understand that they're using Chad and Abby.
So see, that's what I like what they're doing, because it's like, oh look, no, we know we're redoing this, and that's why
we're going to do it in a different way. Because we got Ben and Sierra, which I thought was great. You know, you have, you know, EJ, fine as a priest, amen. But you know, you have.
I don't understand that mentality of I'm not going to watch the show because my couple's not in it. Like,
oh my
God, that's another thing with soaps, is that if the show does not feature your couple or character, and it's like, gone are the days where you had a cast and you were showing them every single day, like everybody,
like an umbrella story.
Like an umbrella storyline in a rotation.
I just had a thought about the possession storyline. The devil wants Ben and Sierra's baby. Could you imagine if she gets pregnant and that baby like grows, like they make fun of soaring, and before we know it, we have this grown adult who is devil incarnated.
What do you think will happen on Days? Like, what do you think their arc is for this possession storyline? Is it gonna climax in November, or are they gonna take this through like May sweeps?
This is going past New Year.
December.
Yeah, because I feel like the devil will be possessing someone differently before too long.
The devil likes to set the Christmas tree on fire. I heard that that's gonna happen again.
Well, we gotta look at this too. Is that,
well, and if he's going after Ben and Sierra's baby, well, then it takes, if I know in soap world it's different, but you have to at least have a few months to make 9 months, you know.
Well, I mean, Mariah on Young and the Russells was pregnant and gave birth after 6 months.
Okay, so see,
versus Maxie here
for 6 months.
For a year. Versus Maxie was pregnant for a year on General Hospital.
Look. How pregnant? But no, I mean, the thing is with Days of Our Lives, like I said, is in a different breed. It's a different breed of a show where, look, hey, people can alter their chain. You know, with the devil possession storyline, I do think it's going to go to February sweeps.
Okay.
Because I need some people dead.
I also feel like they need to explain how the devil got into Doug, because he got into Marlena.
I think they did though, didn't they?
Oh, did they?
So didn't they have an episode where they explained it, or maybe or something?
Maybe I missed something then.
I thought that was explained, like when, you know, the devil emoji. I'm sorry. As soon as I said that, I just went back to what I posted. Because if anybody's seen the devil's emoji, like, you know, the phone, does that? I'm going to ask you guys and your audience, does that emoji looks like a cross between Mr. T and Yondu from Guardians of the Galaxy?
That's funny. That's a pretty good synopsis.
I'm just like, okay. I'm like, purple. Can I say the genie from Aladdin? No, I can't. I'm like, wait, this looks like. I know exactly what it looks like. But no, I think if they do the devil storyline, because it's testing couples, it's testing characters.
Well, the reason I think he might possess Abigail too is to create that drama, because he knows Abigail and EJ had a thing, and EJ wants to play John, I think.
Yeah.
So if he possesses Abigail, he can,
And she's and this is not to say anything about mental health or anything, but she is mentally unbalanced where she can actually, just like Marlena, because a lot of people forget how that even started. Was Stefano kept brainwashing, hypnotized, and she had a mental snap, meaning that it created a. Why am I doing the whole thing? Like, okay, it created a.
She was also torn up between the fairs and all the fair and all that. That's why the
devil got into her with Abby because of her mental. I could see. Look, like I said, when it was announced that Dan was coming over and they was going to do EJ, I said I do need to see EJ and Abby, and I want to see how Dan and Marcy would work together. I saw it. I was like, interesting. The devil will try. Look, I'm going to hurt so many people's feelings when I say this, but I apologize. I know that Theo's coming back. Theo's coming.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to do the math of that baby's conception. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Well, if she's already pregnant, why would the devil want Ben to sleep with Sierra to get her pregnant?
It could be okay. So if they're going to do something, because I feel as though something is going to be. Look, I'm thinking this is so fan, okay? Because I want the mess.
See, I'm just thinking they're trying to do the Damien Rosemary baby kind of.
Well, they're trying to do that, but at the same time, I'm also wondering, like, I don't know how it would play, and that's why I said, like, as a so fan, I'm like, and it's nothing about sin or anything like that. It's just I'm trying to see if they would insert Theo into the storyline, given the history of what happened the last time, because I'm still salty about how they did that. But I'm just trying to figure out like what other mess they could get into. I do like the fact that the devil convinced Ben to have sex with his wife. Okay, but I'm telling you, Molly, I'm like, okay, my therapist told me to have sex with him. Like, all right, like, but even that, like, I remember I defended that story because people was like, oh, this is stupid. I said there once upon a time was a TV show called Soap. And Soap did a storyline where the daughter and the priest, because the mom, who was on Everybody Loves Raymond, Doris Roberts, bless your soul, honey, she cursed them, and the baby was possessed. So I was like, okay, Ron and crew, who's watching Soap?
Wow, you refreshed my memory because I remember that, but I had forgotten about it. So you just
Father Tim. Father Tim.
I haven't seen that.
And that was so far, that was on. I know.
So far, I've been pretty on game with my predictions with days. Haven't I?
You have.
So yes, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, all I know is I did predict about the baby. I did say something about that devil in the baby because that's where people was like really mad at me. Because I was like, because people was like, well, Candace, are you saying because Ben's mental? And I said, I didn't say anything about the mental health. I just said to create the drama.
See,
and
I'm still hoping they'll say that the devil's been hopping around for a little bit. And that's why Ben killed those people, was because he was possessed at the time. I'm still thinking that, because at this point, they just need to redeem him. And that would be the only way to.
Let me ask a controversial question here. Do you feel as though Days already redeemed him?
I guess, but they keep bringing up the fact that he killed, a lot of times after. I don't know.
I'm going to say this. I feel as though when you have a character like Ben, you do need to have that past come up, and you have to have people who don't like him. Because if you think about it,
I mean, they bring up the fact that Jack raped Kayla.
Yeah.
Every once in a while.
I mean, I remember
for some reason they don't like to bring up that EJ raped Sammy.
I'm sorry. What happened? I'm sorry. That was not in the history books. Let me read it again. Hold on. EJ raped Sammy. Nope, doesn't say it on here. I'm sorry. Now
EJ forced Sammy to have sex with him to save the man she loved.
I'm just gonna say this now, and you guys are my witness. Okay, Ron and crew at Days, and yes, I'm calling you guys out. I need for that to come out. I need for Johnny, like the devil somehow, some way, really reveals that secret to Johnny. It's like, do you know?
I'm surprised that's not in Will's book or screenplay. I'm surprised if it's the Sammy Brady story originally, why is that not in there?
I'm questioning if everybody knows that. Just like the devil. Like, nobody knew about it. Again, I'm going to be honest. I laughed. I was like, okay, yeah. Who would tell you guys, like, oh, by the way, your grandma was possessed by the devil?
Maybe Sammy, when she comes back, will get possessed and she'll blurt it out.
When is Sammy coming back?
In a fight with EJ.
Is there a forecast for when you think Allison will be back on screen?
I know she's on her way back at some point.
She got to get off that island, don't she?
My only thing with the EJ Sammy thing was Sammy was raped by Alan in the 90s. So that's why I feel like
Sammy raped Austin.
And okay, maybe that's why she could just forgive EJ then.
Oh yeah, see, when it comes, that's what I keep saying. Like with Sammy,
I forget about that. She did.
They tried to make you forget certain things. That's why I said, who has a good memory? So fans, we remember. Look, we may not remember.
When you jogged my memory, when you said that, I was like, oh wait, yeah.
I don't remember what happened yesterday, but I remember something from a soap opera.
Exactly. Sure.
I think didn't Teresa drug Ethan on Passions as well? So maybe that was just a James Riley.
Was so off the wall. They probably all raped each other.
Look, let's be real for a second. A character like Teresa from Passions, if we really think about it, now that we're all, matured, right? Let's call it out for what it was. Teresa was a stalker.
Yeah.
The girl was obsessed.
I think if she would have been played by anybody else, we wouldn't feel the same way. You know? Because I love the actress that played, because when she came on Days, I loved her just as much as Adriana,
right?
As I did as Teresa, just because I really like the actress,
right? But I just think if you,
but maybe it's because I wanted Brady and Teresa together, and I thought I was going to get that with her coming to Days.
I will say when that happened, when Eric Motzoff and Lindsay, I was like, okay. It's like, when you see your favorite couple reunite on another soap, it's like, okay, writers, don't F this up.
Uh-huh.
Don't do it. And, I always say that.
I bet that's how fans were with Kayla and Patch on General Hospital.
Didn't
they try to do that with All My Children with Gus and Harley?
Yeah, with Beth and Ricky. Yeah, and it didn't work. I love Beth Ellis because, she's
on Forever and Today.
Oh, really? She is?
I know. I just recently found that out.
Stop playing. She's on Forever Today. Man, I'm telling you, that's so. Woo! I wonder where I can find that so bad. Is it anywhere? Can I find it here? Can I find it there?
I joke with Tommy. I'm like, Forever Today is kind of like the CBS type. Comparing it to my soap, is like a CBS soap. It's more grounded. Has Well, you know what I'm saying. Like,
I know what you mean.
Whereas mine is more like NBC, a mix between Days
and
Passions.
I always tell him because James Riley raised him.
Yeah, he's like, James Riley raised you.
Oh my God. Yeah.
When you listen to it, you'll be like, okay, yeah, it's a little.
No, but you know what? Here, again, going back to the whole thing, 91 years ago, Erna Phillips felt the same way that you're feeling. Here she was, a single mom, and she's just writing and she's like, oh, let me just, and then of course she had to pitch it to people, and people probably was like this. What the heck is this? And you think about it,
weren't they only like 5 to 15 minute episodes?
Yeah, it was like
Painted Dreams was 15 minutes, I think.
Yeah,
right?
it was 15 minutes, and she had to put a lot into it so people could tune in the next day and the next day after that. And then think about this. She was doing radio episodes with television episodes. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, you take a look at what Erna, she taught Agnes and William. You take a look at what they did.
Oh my God, what if we become the next level, Candace? It's like we're the next generation.
Honey, we are the next generation.
You already are, because you're working on season 3 of Forever and a Day, which will be released soon. They have a Thanksgiving episode next month.
November 22nd is the Thanksgiving episode on JLJ Media. Yep. But you.
I'm hardcore promoting someone else's soap, so that maybe in return she'll hardcore promote mine.
Oh, honey. Oh, look. Here's the one thing I would say about today, about National Soap Opera Day. And I do this all the time. And anybody, again, follows me on social media. I rep for this genre.
Me too.
There's not a lot of things I will rep. I will go hardcore. I will defend. And it's not that I'm it's like this genre really helped me grow up. It has been there, for me growing up when my mom passed away. It was there again, my prom, my graduation, me meeting the celebrities, and yes, I still call them celebrities, me meeting friends from across the country, around the world, going to events, promoting that, sadly, we lost a lot of soaps. We did. But we really didn't lose them because we still see them online. It's still in our hearts. We still see the same people on these other
talking about them.
Yeah, and it went to, people's passions to do podcasts.
Yeah.
I'm doing Soap Party for 8 years now. Like, that's crazy. You guys came out. Look at what you guys accomplished. Look at what you guys have accomplished too. So that's why I said with the genre, outsiders look at it as it's just a soap. But as an insider, you think about it, we went from radio, television to digital. Like, it's now the digital soaps are now incorporated with the daytime Emmys. That's the crazy thing, right? Is that,
and who knows, they could incorporate podcasts next, because was she the second Carly? Sarah she played
Sarah Brown. Yeah, she got a new podcast.
They have she has an audio drama coming out, or is out.
It's out. Yeah, it came out last Monday. But no, I mean, and you think about it, we have a new soap channel.
I know. I never thought I'd see the day.
Which is huge. I mean, you bring up good
seeing that word soap there, I was like, Susan Lucci finally winning that Emmy.
Right. I mean, it's a win for all of us because, again, we stuck with, first and foremost, not everybody can stick with these shows.
No,
these have been on long enough that, again, it started out with our great-grandparents, our grandparents, our moms and dads, us, aunts, it's literally been through the whole generation.
And sometimes it's like that crazy aunt or uncle where you're like,
right.
Oh God, they're here.
Yeah, you said you took away. You was off for General Hospital for a while. Look, I took a hiatus from General Hospital.
I've taken one from Dave before.
Right, I think the only soap that I really didn't turn my back on. No, I did for a minute, but I still didn't turn. Like, I didn't walk away from it. Like, I didn't give it up. And I always say this: if you did leave the show for like 6 months or a year, you can still come back on Monday and pick up like, oh my God, Victor Newman's still on this show because he is the young and the restless. Wait, John and Marlene is still together. I remember I remember when John Black's hair was black. Like,
I'm sorry. I am so happy his hair is not black no more, because I didn't realize I was attracted to older men until I started seeing older men with gray hair, and then I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you think about this too. For some of us, we can remember Sharon Case and Joshua Morrow's first day. Okay.
Yeah. I want to see their early days so bad.
Wait a minute.
I can remember Sharon Case on As the World Turns.
Me too. And look, I can actually remember when Christian LeBlanc was on there as Kurt. Okay. So
I remember Sharon Case being like a minor character on 90210 in the first season for like 2 episodes.
I totally forgot about this. Let me throw this one out. I thought this would blow people's minds, but most people know this. But like Jason Biggs was on As the World Turns, American Pie. But did you know? And I'm sure you know this, Aaron, but I'm still going to say it because I remember watching these episodes. James Vanderbeek was on As the World Turns.
Bethany Joy Lentz was on Guiding Light.
As 2 characters. She was the clone.
She was a clone. She was because he liked her so much. But here's another thing. I always say this. If you're a Star Wars fan, if you're a DC comic book fan, you owe the soaps a huge debt of gratitude, because from Star Wars, and I'm gonna start with the recent person that just graduated, Christopher Sean, who's also Nightwing on DC Comics. Yeah. I got it because that's my brother too. But Mark Hamill, he started on General Hospital.
Yep.
Billy D. Williams and James L. Jones, both respectively on Small Turns and Gone Light.
Didn't George Lucas even say Star Wars is just a space soap opera?
It is a space soap opera, yeah. I mean, you take a look at DC, there's a certain iconic character of DC Comics who represents red, white, and blue. And this character, the actor started on Love of Life. His name was Christopher Reeve.
That's great.
Oh wow.
And he will. If you watch an early interview when Superman first came out, he talked about that. He was like, I was just a guy that was on a soap.
I feel like a lot of the older soaps that started in like the 60s and maybe the 70s, like the patriarchs were like old school film actors.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them transitioned from like even radio and then came on to television. And when they came onto television, the soaps were live television. Most soaps didn't trend over to being taped until early to mid 70s. And the soaps were like, that's why when soaps were first on television, they were a 15-minute genre. Then if they got to expand to a 30. Some of them, believe it or not, before they went to an hour, they became a 45-minute show. Imagine
didn't Another World become an hour and a half for like a year?
Yeah, Another World was 90 minutes for a little while.
90 minutes. I mean, General Hospital was 45 minutes. One Life to Live was, 1980s was when Young and the Restless first became like out. Like the thing is that like Bold and the Beautiful. Now here's the thing.
I don't want them to go 10 hours.
Well, here's the thing. You're not, because William J. Bell said, I can't do an hour. Like I can't do an hour.
I've also been
good. That's like candy. I watched the whole week in like under 2 hours, and
if Days went back to being just like a 20-minute show, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about, and I say this too. People want As Well Turns and Gone Like That, and look, I'm the biggest person that wants that, but I'm also being real when I say this. If they was to say, hey, these soaps are coming back, but it's only going to be for 30 minutes. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be like, thank you. I'm going to be like, just give me 30 minutes. I'm good. I'm good.
I'll take 15.
Sure. I don't know if I can do that.
Just make sure Luke and Noah's on there.
Right. But I mean, you think about it. Bold is the last of their breed too, because of their half an hour. Mm-hmm. I mean, before that, you had Port Charles, you had Ryan's Hope, you had The City, you had Love, you had Spider. Talk about a show that more. Look, when
I love that show.
Did you watch For Tomorrow? I remember that going from CBS to NBC also.
Look, I remember. Look, somebody reposted the promos of Are you searching for something new? Search for Tomorrow. Then there was the one.
Also follow the search.
Follow the search. Then there was the one that really came back out after the dig. There was a dig recently about Days of Our Lives. It was like the former writers at General Hospital would like for you to watch their new show, Days of Our Lives on NBC. And somebody said that somebody should have did that for Ron and everything like that. When I say the promos, are a big factor in National Soap Opera Day, I remember Clarence from CBS. I remember
I do too.
Jack Abbott is going on a search. What is he going to do next? On the Young and the Restless, CBS. I remember, ABC Soap Line. I'm not going to say that a 9-year-old Candace spent $40 on that, but we're going to assume that 9-year-old Candace did that, and her allowance for the next 3 weeks was to pay that back. We're not going to say
it's no difference than me and Tommy paying the money to travel to California in March to go to a Spectrum celebrity event to see, so
I'm not gonna I still can top that though.
Oh, I'm sure you can.
But I'm not saying anything because I don't know who's all watching this. But I like to clarify right now, it wasn't me. There you go. But no, but like I said, I'm just so happy that people are celebrating this. I mean, I do hope it's become official. You know what I mean?
Well, then right now it's official. We made it official. There we go.
Yeah.
If we live through
I think we
4
should wrap
years
this up though. 'Cause it's been over 2 hours.
Tommy's like this. He's like, look, we've been talking about soaps. Tommy, it's National Soap Opera Day. Do you understand?
You're not gonna catch me here at midnight, Candace.
Wait a minute, excuse me. Hold up. We're continuing the celebration all year long. Thank you.
Hey, well, in January is the celebration of when soap opera, like daytime on television. Today was for the soaps. January is for when they went to television.
That's what. It's Gone Light's anniversary. Oh, trust me. Oh, and we're definitely going to do something. You guys got to do something for the big thing, because you know what happens next year, right? You know how, like, okay, so you know General Hospital is now currently the longest running soap, right? Yeah. Not the longest running drama. I want to clarify that. Gone Light still has that record, but General Hospital beat. Okay, come March or April of next year, Days of Our Lives will surpass As the World Turns. As the World Turns, the fourth longest running soap.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot. When I say there's a lot going on with this genre, that I feel as though, like, sometimes when I say it, I'm just like, okay, Candace, you're too much of a geek about it.
Never, no.
I'm like, well, that's because I love this genre so much. And then next year,
we have to celebrate the milestones.
That's right.
But thank you guys so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Celebrating with us.
And follow Forever and a Day on their social media.
Yeah.
Listen to them at any podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast. And of course, follow us, like us.
Yeah. Make sure you follow. Like, seriously, like, follow, because they're doing a lot of things.
I'm sorry, it's past my bedtime. I'm normally in bed by now. My enthusiasm is leaving my body.
And I'm going to do a
show, whatever.
Plus, next to Candace, I would never look like I'm very enthusiastic. That girl got some energy. And I love it. I'm here for it. I'm trying to tell.
Guys, I'm talking about, because it's the soap operas. I mean, again, like I said, they've been with us through the good, the bad, the moments. But one thing,
there more than some of my family,
right? But here's the bottom line. Even though the shows, they provide entertainment for us, they also provided us with being friends. Because I would never have met none of you guys without this genre. So,
well said.
That's the great way to end the show.
All right. Good night, guys.
Bye. Thank you, Ernest Phillips.